These anime characters solidified their strength and carved their own destinies with their own hands, ripping through opposition even if it was an entire army. They persevered and kept fighting until the end. That's why for today, we'll be talking about the top 10 best fights, 1 versus 100 of anime. So, before we begin, remember to subscribe if you haven't yet, and press that bell icon to stay updated of all the new content we're creating. And beware for the following spoilers. 10. 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐬𝐭 vs 240k plus soldiers, Overlord, Season 3, Episode 11. This was one of those episodes that divides a fandom, and after its debut, a lot of people were enraged and disgusted, while others were nonchalant with what had transpired and what 𝐒𝐴𝐻 did. As war was breaking out and the enemies of Nazarick began to move, 𝐒𝐴𝐻 went out of the fortress onto the battlefield to defeat them with one of the most devastating spells ever used in the series, with the spell comprising of 2 parts. The first part of the spell instantly dropped 70,000 soldiers dead in their tracks, and the second part consisted of a dark orb that swallowed those dead bodies and summoned gooey black tentacle mini mouths thingy, and 5 of them at that, with them having the voice of goats for some reason, mowing down the army and trampling on them like ants. But what really divided the fandom was the death of Ghazif. Some saw it honorable warrior death, while others saw 𝐒𝐴𝐻 as an asshole for killing him in that way. Nine. Hiraga Saito vs 70,000 soldiers, Zero no Tsukaima, Season 2, Episode 12. Dying for the one you love is the best way to die, but dying having gained the respect of your opponent is an even greater and more important feat. When Hiraga stays behind to protect Louise and the others from the onslaught of the Albion army, he manages to single-handedly fend off the Albion army without killing anyone, I might add by the way. In the anime it isn't shown, but in the manga the Albion army, having great respect for him, decided to give him a magician's funeral as well as making a monument for him and his bravery. 8. Shimazu Toyohisa, killing enemy leader, Drifters, Episode 1. That's one hell of a first impression Toyohisa made in the series debut, don't you think, guys? In this episode, after being saved by the elves from a critical injury, he returns the favor by liberating their village and stopping the massacres committed by the humans. How, you might ask? Of course, using the only way he knows, by liberating the soldiers from their heavy heads, and in the end he charged at their leader and punished him dearly for all he did, using the scabbard style to smash his pretty face in. 7. Adolf vs Cockroaches, Terraformers, Episode 10. After all his allies and students are captured, Adolf, their fatherly figure, has to do something about it before they get shot down by freaking mutated roaches. So he decides to go all out and give it his all, duking it out with all the roaches on his own, electrocuting them to death, making Raiden proud. If that wasn't enough, he deliberately missed their leader with his knives throw, only to taunt him with the finger, giving him a false sense of safety and victory, only to summon the wrath of Zeus and smite him with the strongest thunderbolt anyone ever saw, frying him and ending the fight. However, that fight cost him his life, sadly. 6. Erza vs 100 Monsters, Fairy Tail, Episode 167. Pandemonium lives up to its name with 100 monsters trying to take out all who dare to fight them. Erza uses the opportunity to jump into the fray and show everyone the real mettle of the Fairy Tail Guild and what they're made of, fighting off all 100 monsters on her own, using all the armors and weapons in her arsenal to defeat each and every monster with its own weakness and destroy them once and for all. The monsters were divided into ranks from A to D, and fighting them all proved to not be as easy as she thought at first. With them all defeated, she was prepared to show the S-rank monster who is the real monster between them. And just like that, and even though she was so exhausted, she was able to cut through him like a hot knife slicing butter. 5. Baki Hanma vs 100 Mans, Baki the Grappler. He's just a human, nothing more than that. No superpowers and no plot armor bullshit, just a man kicking the asses of 100 other men. Baki Hanma is the definition of the strongest man. He is so powerful he didn't hesitate to jump right into the middle of the 100 thugs, waiting eagerly to beat his ass up. He fought valiantly and kicked their asses all the way till next year. However, their numbers caught up to him, and numbers always beat courage, losing the fight off in the end. But who can blame him, really? He beat up 60 of them or so before going down to the sheer numbers. Four, Luffy vs 50,000 Fishman, One Piece, Episode 554. Back then, this was the first fight the Straw Hats engaged in after their 2-year reunion. In this battle, they were originally up against 100,000 fishmen. However, Luffy utilized his Conqueror's haki and took out 50,000 of them just like that. In mere seconds, he took them down. The rest of them were divided between him, Zoro, and Sanji, taking them out easily and without breaking a sweat. Watching their training come into fruition was even more satisfying than what I thought, and their battle was legendary. 3. 𝐜𝐴LUCARD vs. All Hellsing Ultimate Episode 8. The Level 0 release was one of the most epic moments when it came to my childhood and one of the most memorable moments in this show. In this episode, 𝐜𝐴LUCARD is up against, well, everyone, and what better way to face an army than with an army of your own? The Zero release brought back every single soul that 𝐜𝐴LUCARD has ever absorbed and killed in his entire life, even revealing that he absorbed his own principality troops and added them to his army of the dead. This army rushed in and swallowed all that stood in its way like a wave of tsunami, with no amount of gunshot being able to slow it down or halt its advance, and with each one killed, the power of 𝐜𝐴LUCARD grew even more. 2. King Bradley vs. Tank Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood Episode 56 Part 5 Episode 4. Truly, he's Wrath laying a one-man siege onto his own castle, going one versus all against everyone holding the fortress. He charges forward, causing a freaking tank to retreat as he charges forward in pursuit, climbing all the way to the top, cutting down anyone foolish enough to stand in his way. 1. Madara vs. Shinobi Alliance Naruto Shippuden Episode 322. Of course it had to be Madara. I don't recall any of the entries above hurling a meteor at an army and decimating everyone in the blast radius into smithereens, including themselves, and 2 at that, I might add, as Gaara said, and I quote, "Is this the power of a god?" Not a single shinobi in history ever dreamt of reaching such a level, and jutsu, however, Madara isn't any ninja. After all, he's the strongest ninja in history, and the first thing he did was run straight forward into a complete army, and opposed to previous entries that lost or had some help, he destroyed everyone and cut through them easily, and even though he was attacked from all sides, even from under the ground, he was able to beat up everyone that came at him using his skills. With the appetizers out of the way, it was time for the main dish to make its debut. What better way to rock someone's world than with a big-ass giant meteor hurled at them? And if they somehow manage to stop it, no biggie, just hurl another one at them on top of the first one, acting like a hammer smashing onto a chisel, killing almost everyone in the area. And with this, we conclude our video. If you enjoyed this list, I want you to smash that thumbs up button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe and press that bell icon to keep you notified of all our new videos. Also, comment down below on the anime you like the most on this list. And if you're planning to watch any of them, and if you have any suggestions, place them in the comments as well. Until next time, see ya!